Marketing That Works is the podcast for business owners who want to move their brand forward so that they can bring in more sales and clients. I'm Danielle Harris, and I'm bringing you what I know from more than 12 years of experience in traditional and online marketing. I have created marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes, from multi-million-dollar corporations to early-stage online businesses. Remember, some marketers chase fads. I believe in mastering the fundamentals.
We are officially in that season, that time of year where we are getting ready and planning for the new year. From the business direction to the marketing, all of these things, we are looking at and planning what does 2026 look like. And something that I have heard from several people, like they feel very motivated. They want to plan. They want to get ready for the new year. They want to start off on the right foot. But at the same time, they're just like, where do I even start with that? How do I actually plan and get ready? There's all of this pent up energy and momentum to want to do it, but no guidance and direction of how to actually plan out what you want to do for the next year. And so this episode right here is going to be a little bit of a guide that I want you to go back and revisit. I want you to go back and listen to it a couple times of just knowing exactly where to focus your time, your energy, your attention so that you can have the 2026 in your business that you've always wanted. And I'm going to go through really a list of questions that I have been having people go over for years and years, whether they were my clients, whether they were people who've gone through my workshops, just a list of really solid questions that help to focus you and guide you and give you a really solid start of what actions you need to be taking to make your marketing and your business work for you the way that you want to. And so to really help you and guide you through all of this, I created this guide that you can follow along with. So it's like a Google Doc, so you can actually go in there and edit it, because I personally don't like a PDF where it's not editable. I have this Google Doc where I want you to have like this living, breathing document that you're looking through and you're planning through and follow along. So go ahead, go to the show notes, go to the link. You can go and download that right now and follow along. But if you are in that mood of, okay, I want to plan, I want to get ready for 2026, this is going to be the episode for you, and these questions that I'm going to go through are going to help you get focused and actually get you to start taking the action that you want to have. So the first thing is first. I know a lot of times when it comes to planning for 2026, the first thing that you're coming up is like, okay, well, like this didn't go right, that didn't go right, all these other things didn't go right. So this is what I'm going to do different for 2026. And I know that that's the energy you want to come from, because that's the energy that I typically come from. But something that I've been reminding myself, something that mentors of mine have reminded me, something that I'm always telling my clients is that you actually need to start with what worked for this year. Now, I know that a lot of times you're just like, but it didn't go the way that I wanted. I didn't hit this goal. I didn't do this the way that I wanted to. I need you to go through and document and see what were the things that actually worked. So if I'm going back and I'm looking for me, there are several things that I'm like, it didn't really work out the way that I wanted. I didn't have the level of intensity that I wanted. I didn't carry things through all the way that I wanted. And I could very easily go through and start planning based off of that. Like, I wasn't good enough, didn't do enough. But that would then leave me hanging with all the things that I did actually love doing and the things that actually worked. I worked with a lot of local businesses this year. I was able to speak on stages this year. I landed some really great interviews on this podcast with people that I truly admire. There were things in my business that I look back and say like, oh, this piece of content actually really worked. This thing over here that I experimented with, that actually worked out better than I had anticipated. If I do not go back through and document that, then I'm thinking that I'm starting from scratch. I think that I don't have any momentum. I don't have anything going for me to build off of. That is not what I want you to do when you are going into the new year and starting off with your marketing. I need you to get very clear and very specific about what were the things that did work. Maybe it didn't work to the degree that you wanted. Maybe you didn't hit the exact goals that you wanted, but there was something that worked, something that you are proud of amongst this entire year. I want you to get very clear about that and document that so you could do more of the things that work. So that is first and foremost. And I want you to really spend some time here because, like I said, you really want to be in that default of this negativity bias, like nothing worked, nothing happened. Please document all of the things that worked. Do it. Do that as a regular basis thing, okay? Now, the second thing, now that you've gotten all of the positive things that have gone out from you, I want you to go through and say, okay, what actually didn't go according to plan? So this question is going to really, I'm taking it from a different perspective. So I think you might be inclined to say like, okay, this didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work, all of these other things. That's not really the perspective that I want you to take when you answer this question. I want you to first start off with what was the plan? Like, in order for things to not go according to plan, you had to have had a plan to begin with. So I want you to go back, think to what you talked about or what you wanted to do at the beginning of January of the year, or maybe at the midway point, you kind of switched and pivoted directions. I want you to get clear about what were those intentions that you had at that point, right? And then from there, I want you to go through and say, okay, why didn't it work? Like, yes, you didn't hit that, or yes, you didn't do it as many times as you wanted to, but why? Why was that the case? Sometimes we go through and realize that actually that wasn't the biggest priority that I should have been focusing on. So I want you to write that down and be clear about that. Or maybe you just didn't have the capacity to do it, that you wanted to, your intentions were there, you wanted to be that person that could do all those things, but it wasn't actually feasible with the other life responsibilities and things that you had going on in your life. Or maybe you were just like, yeah, no, I just didn't do it. Or I said that I wanted to do this, but I didn't actually care about that. Like when you go through and you answer this question for yourself, like I need you to be really honest. So like for me, if I'm answering this question for myself, like why didn't things go according to plan? And I think I've been fairly honest about this in past episodes about just like my identity behind being able to do things and getting back up and going. Like it just wasn't there. I had all these visions and plans and intentions, but when it came really down to it, I was just like, I felt really nervous and scared about actually going after and doing the big things. It wasn't that I couldn't do it or that it was a bad plan. I just didn't believe in myself enough to actually be able to go after it and get it. And so that's why it didn't work out. That's why I didn't hit a lot of the things that I wanted to go after and do. And so when I'm going and answering this question, like it's very easy for me to just be like, and that's why I suck. And that's why this. And like it's very easy to be very shameful about it, like why all these things didn't work. But that's where you're going to have to need to do something different. That's where I'm doing something different. I'm going after it more along the lines of, okay, that's what happened. That's why that was the case. And that's why I didn't hit my goals. Okay, that makes sense. It wasn't that I planned terribly, because I don't. I make fantastic plans. It's not that, that X, Y, Z, A, B, C wasn't all of these other reasons. Like this is why I didn't hit the thing. Or maybe for you, you could say like, I had this plan if I wanted to go after and speak on big stages, but considering all the things that are going on in my life, the thing that made the most sense for me to do was not to go and speak on stages, but to focus on creating more content. Or maybe for you, you decided that you wanted to do some more writing. And so you didn't create content on Instagram, but maybe you wrote more emails and you started a Substack. So you need to really be able to go through and piece apart why didn't things turn out the way that you wanted it to, at least initially? How does it make sense that that result happened? And how can you not be shamed or shameful or be ashamed for having that be the result? Okay. So that's the second question that I want you to go through and do. So I just really want you to take some time with that one, not be judgmental when it comes to answering that question for yourself, and just be really honest about it. And again, as you go through or you're doing all of these prompts, like go back to that guide that I'm having you to download. It's going to give you some additional prompts and just really some space to really think about all of these things that I'm mentioning here, okay? So when it comes to your goals and planning for 2026, what I want you to really do is focus on what is it that I want to focus on going forward? So you know the things right now that went really well for you. And at this point, you also know why things didn't go according to plan. So with that knowledge, what is it that you want to focus on going into the new year? Is this going to be the year where maybe you're just like, I really want to expand my audience? Or maybe this is the year where you're saying like, okay, I really want to get good at content, like content creation. I want that to be my thing. I want to show up as like a cool personal brand, and that's what I want to do into the new year. Or maybe you had a fantastic 2025 and you're just like, can I do this and hit this same goal, but faster and easier and simpler in 2026 so I can have like more peace and space? Like, I want you to get very clear and focused on what is it that you actually want to go through and do. And again, same like with the other question, I want you to take some time with this one because it's really important that the goal or the thing that you're going after means something to you. And that's because you are not going to go after a goal that you don't care about. And you are going to be more likely to quit faster if it doesn't mean anything to you. So I want you to really think about, okay, yeah, you want to have this audience growth. Yeah, you want to speak on stages. Like, why is that important to you? What does that serve you on some other level? And it doesn't have to always be just like, yeah, because it's going to get me X amount of money. It could just be like, I've always envisioned myself being the person that does X, Y, and Z. I just want you to have that like right in front of you of saying like, okay, this is what I've wanted to do. This is how I've wanted to operate. And having that in front of you as your reason why is going to help to ground you and help you to very much stay focused when you're going after those big goals. I know that I've talked about this before, but going into 2026, I'm really focusing on building a business, the brand, and a life that is very meaningful to me. I want to have a business that's able to support me and able to really support my family and community in the ways that I really want to. I want to have the business model that's going to allow me to have a lot of free time to be able to do that so I can live the life that I want. I can go and travel and, see my nephew. I can go and see friends who live all across the country and around the world. I want to be able to have the space to just be like, oh, I'm depressed in December or January here in Michigan. Let me go someplace where there's some sun and I can hang out there for a month. Like, I want to be able to have the freedom to do those types of things. And focusing on building a business that allows me to do that is going to allow me to have those freedoms that I imagine for myself. And so me building this business the way that I want to and having that goal rooted in that, I'm going to have such a deeper connection of like, Danielle, it's snowing outside, is doing this, is doing that. Wouldn't you love to be able to go to Miami or go to Australia or go to somewhere where it's nice and warm just for a couple weeks so you can get in some vitamin D instead of being in the depressing, overcast Detroit weather, right? Like, that's where I want to root into. That's how my business goals and my marketing goals are going to tap into something that's bigger than what I'm already doing. And so that's what I want for you. Like, I want you to say, like, how is getting more leads going to be important and impactful to you? How is speaking on stages going to be meaningful and impactful for you? How is hitting that 100K in your business in a year? How is that important and how is that going to be meaningful for how you live your life? The better you're able to anchor into that, the more likely it is that you are going to be able to see, okay, this is going to be important. When your goals align to something bigger, you are able to see how it's important and you're going to be more willing to fight to make it happen. That's why it's so important for you to take the time to really go through and think about this, why it's important, and how it roots back to something bigger and deeper. Now, the fourth question that's going to be really important for you as you're going through and making your plans for 2026 for your marketing, for your business, is really the question of what are the skills, the habits, and the resources that you're going to need in order to make this happen. Now, I know a lot of times you're just like, okay, we got this goal, we're going to go after it, we're going to go do it. But a lot of times you need to go through and take inventory of like, okay, so what actually is it going to take for me to make this happen? What is step one of one so I can actually go down this path and make this a reality? And for some of you, it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to have to learn a new skill. I'm going to have to learn something completely new. Or for some people, it's not like they need to learn a new skill because you've learned all the things, you've signed up for courses, you've done all of this stuff, but it's actually creating new habits and applying the skills that you've learned and actually implementing them and doing them. Or sometimes it's just more resources. Maybe you need time, maybe you need a project management tool, maybe you need to upgrade a software, maybe you need help. Like, you need to go through and be able to see, like, okay, what are the things that I actually need so that making this goal, making this a reality, like, it's going to be feasible for it to actually happen. So I know for me, I said that I'm going to be working in 2026 to build, the brand and the business and the life that I want. When it comes to the brand portion of it, I know that's something that I need to work on is content, the skill of content. I tend to be a little bit more long-winded. I like to have a lot of details and explanation, and I'm working with someone who's helping me saying, like, Danielle, cut this down, refine this, just to help me become a better content creator, helping me become someone who's like, okay, capture your attention quick, make sure that it's reasonable. And it's not that I am bad at marketing, it is that it's a whole different skill. The way that content worked back in 2022, 2023 is different than content creation is in 2025 going into 2026. And so that's going to be a skill that I'm going to be working on and refining. I'm also going to be working on habits. I want to work on making sure that I have a level of consistency, more regularity in how I go about and I operate things, as opposed to just like kind of floating around here or there. Like, those types of skills, especially my habits, like, it got me to where I'm at, and that's really good. But where I want to go in the future is going to require me to have more habits of, getting up at a better time, going to sleep at a better time, drinking more water, eating more fruits and vegetables, just like being more healthy in those types of areas, which is also going to overflow into my life. So, like, those are going to be the things that are going to help me to really get to the next level. And so for you, I want you to go through and really be clear, what are the skills that I need to learn? Do I need to learn a little bit more about video editing for my content? Am I going to need to work on my writing skills a little bit more in order to make sure that I'm writing emails that people want to open up and listen to? Or maybe it's the fact that, okay, I need to really work on my habits. I need to dedicate some time on a regular basis where I'm creating my content, or I need to just go to bed and maybe I need to stop scrolling my phone so much. Like, what are those things that are going to really help you to be your best version of yourself so that hitting this goal is going to be a reality? Okay, so those are the first 4 questions. And again, if you are keeping up or you're trying to do this exercise at home, remember, you can go and you can download the guide that I have that breaks down all of these questions and have all of these prompts. But just to give a little recap, you're starting off with what worked well for you in your business and in your marketing, what didn't go according to plan, what do you want to focus on right now? And then what skills, habits, and resources do you need to have in order to make this goal happen, right? So the final question that I want you all to really hone in on, and this is one of the things that I think most people don't spend any time or intention on at all, is what things do I need to do to keep myself going? And what I mean by that is knowing how you're going to respond, knowing how you're going to react when you fall off your habits, when you fall off all of your plans that you have in place, knowing how you're going to treat yourself and then get back onto it is going to be the difference between, you actually hitting your goals and you saying like, I'll try again next year, right? And so I'll talk about myself for this. I've shared this before with people, the fact that I want to wake up earlier. That's one of the habits that is going to help me with, going after the big goals that I have in 2026. So I started in November with going after this. And at first I was on a good little roll. I had a good little flow going, and then I got sick. I was sick for like a week and a half or so, and I was not waking up at 7:15 the way that I wanted to then. And then after I got better, I still wasn't waking up at the time that I wanted to. I was waking up later because I was not feeling good, and then I was healing myself through watching Netflix and all these other things up late, and I just wasn't doing the things that I needed to do. And so what was helping me to then decide like, okay, I need to get back on track, even going into like the final days of November, is me having a progress tracker, right? Just being able to see like, how am I holding myself up to the standards that I say that I wanted to have? And I'm looking at it right now, this habit tracker that I have, where I'm just literally checking off the days that I did or did not wake up at the time that I said that I wanted to. And I'm being super honest about it. The times that I did not wake up at the time, like I'm checking that off. And the times that I did, I am. And it's very easy to go through and say like, ugh, like there are so many more X's versus check marks on here. And it's true, I'll be honest, there were 7 times in the entire 30 days of November. There are 7 times that I woke up at that 7:15 mark that I wanted to. Now, on one hand, you could just be like, 7 out of 30, girl, that is failing. And sure. Or is it progress? Is that 7 more days than I was before and altogether earlier than I had been in the entire month of October? And that's what I want you all to go about and think about, is how you are measuring yourself and getting back on board with your objectives and your goals that you have. Because for me, I could easily say like, oh, yeah, like I'm tracking all this stuff and this is how terrible that I'm doing compared to what I want to do, which is 30 days straight waking up on time. Versus what I'm going to be doing is I'm tracking all the things that I'm doing and I'm measuring it in a way that's actually going to be helpful for me, is by comparing it to October, not saying like the perfection of November. No, it's the progress over October that happened. I was not waking up early in October at all. I was waking up super late and I was just like spending as much time in bed as possible and waiting till like, okay, 20 minutes before a call, like, okay, let me get up, get myself ready, dressed, ready to go, right? Versus November, altogether, even on the days where I wasn't waking up at 7:15, I was up by 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. And that's progress. And being able to go through and see that and measure that is how you're going to be able to get yourself the momentum that you want. When you fall off, being able to see the progress that you've made overall is going to make it more likely for you to just be like, okay, let me go back to it, because I've been making progress. I have been doing things. And I find that people who track progress like that, they get the fastest results. I have seen that for myself. I've seen that for clients of mine. When you're able to go through and do that and you have a plan for how you're going to jump back on track, how you're going to be able to track your progress of how you're hitting these goals, you're going to be way more likely to want to get back into the rhythm of doing the things that you say that you want to do. Okay? So, a little bit of a tangent on that last one, but it's super important. That's going to be really the key to you going through and hitting those big goals. I know the biggest things that I have ever done in my life, whether it's paying off thousands of dollars in debt, whether it's been creating new habits, whether it's, working out the way that I've wanted to, it has all really come down to tracking how much progress I've made from where I've started. And when I do that, I hit my goals faster, not by looking like how much further that I have to go. Because I've done that before, especially when I was like paying off debt, or especially when I was first starting off my business, which was like, oh, I have so much further to go. But whenever I looked back and measured and tracked and said like, this is where I started and this is how far I've come from this starting point, I moved faster. I did things better. And that's what I want for you all to do. That's how you're actually going to go through and make these plans a reality. Not just the planning portion of it and saying like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's by taking the action and marking and tracking the progress that you're going through and doing. Okay. So again, I have all of this on a guide that I want you to go through and download. I want you to answer this for yourself. And if you're going through and thinking like, okay, yes, I want to actually go through and not just have this plan. I actually want to make progress. I want to have like my tracking and I want to go together and like have everything just marked off and I want to see the progress of my results, but you're not exactly sure how to go about doing that. I have this 90-minute intensive that I offer called Momentum Calls. This has been honestly some people's favorite things. They've gone back multiple times to work with me in these intensives. And it's really going to be a really great space for you to be able to say, okay, this is what I want to do in 2026. This is the plan that I have so far, but I'm not sure how I should go about tracking this. I'm not sure how I should go about actually putting the action into place so that I can see the results that I want, so that I can actually create those big goals that I have for myself and for my business in 2026. So if that is you, if you are thinking like, okay, how do I actually make this into a reality? How do I make this goal and this plan not just something that lives in a Google Doc, but something that I'm actually living out and doing? This one-on-one momentum call for 90 minutes, like it's going to be one of the best things that you can do. I've had people like immediately take action after these plans and come back to me and say like, okay, because of the things that we talked about, like I was able to launch and get people filled into my group program, or we've been able to go through and create launch content material. We've been able to go through and have people hit such big goals because of the things that we did in these 90-minute intensives, okay? So you can go through, you can learn more about how to book that 90-minute momentum call in the show notes for this. And you can also go through to the show notes and download the full guide so you can answer all of those questions and get really straight for what you want to do into 2026. And honestly, get started on it right now, because why not? Let's get going. Let's create that momentum today for what it is that you want to do. All right, y'all. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.
If you want more marketing that works right in your inbox, head to the show notes and sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know how you can work with me on mastering your marketing.